Okay, let's get into it. I decided to, after getting back from the Purple Palace tonight, I decided, let's see if I can show, to fix up a nice little dish of vanilla ice cream in honor of the vanilla bullshit that I saw from the Vikings offense tonight. I feel like I could talk for an hour and a half probably on this, but it's late. I'm gonna try to be a little briefer than I often am in these videos. Tonight was a fucking disaster. It was an absolute fucking debacle, and I'm not okay with it at all. I thought that was an absolute debacle, an embarrassment, and I've defended Mike Zimmer at at just about every turn. I don't think he's a flawless coach, but I certainly think he's been ripped for things that are just wrong, and there are narratives that are just not really accurate. But I can't defend him after this. No, I certainly can't defend him after this game. Um, and I'm not saying, and I'm not saying necessarily I'm going down the road of you gotta fire Mike Zimmer. I'm not. If I'm Ziggy Wolf, I'm not saying that I'm calling Mike Zimmer into my office tomorrow and telling him to hit the road. I you know the idea of like firing a head coach mid-season, you know, I don't know what good that even does. Like the only way you would really do it in this situation is you know if you think there's some tangible change that can be made, like abrupt change, drastic change right now that can alter what this team can do in the 2021 season. And you know, I don't know if that is the thing. I don't know. Like, you know, even if you even if you fire him, then who's the coach? But I didn't want to make this a whole Zimmer thing, but you know, like I'm sitting there at the stadium tonight, and I'm not enjoying anything. This was one of the most unenjoyable games I've ever seen in person because, like, I've tried to be, with Clint Kubiak, I've tried to be nice. I felt like I kind of felt like I went a little too hard on him. Now, not that he ever saw the video or would care, but like I think it was the Cardinal game, I was really going after him. But I've tried to be a little nicer because he is still a first year guy, and you know, you got to let him kind of grow into the position like you would a player. But you have 2 weeks to prepare for the Dallas Cowboys coming out of a bye, and that's what you put up. That's your offensive game plan tonight. It's mind boggling. There's no sense to be made of it. Tasty. Um, it's and again, a lot of it seems like this happens a lot of times. First drive was great. They just go right down the field, throw a couple, downfield passes. Really nice toss to Thielen for a touchdown, and boom, we're 7-0, and then you know, they missed the field goal. I think that was their first drive, and then it's like, okay, if they miss a field goal, then it's like, oh wow, this is really going to be our day because no one ever misses on us. And it was just absolute shit the entire rest of the game. Now there was the one pass down the sideline that almost hit Jefferson. Jefferson kind of stopped running for some reason. I don't really understand that. That would have been an easy touchdown, and that would have changed the game. I mean, the whole fucking game was like, boy, if you just get one touchdown here, this is the game. Like the whole second half, it's like, boy, if you could just go get a fucking touchdown now, it's the game. But they could never do it. And hell, even the drive that they got, late in the game to get the field goal, which the second that they only got the field goal, I absolutely knew what was going to happen. I fucking tweeted it out immediately. They're set up perfectly to lose 20-17, and that's exactly what the fuck happened. But I mean, even that drive, like, you know, a lot of that drive was penalties. They got pushed down the field with a couple of penalties. A couple of them were not really great. Like, the roughing the passer penalty was not a great one. I rail on those, so I got to be consistent. But you're getting this gift, and you only get a field goal out of it. Like, just and seem deliberate. Like you're calling like dump off passes to covered players, and go back to earlier throughout the game. These fucking screen passes, and not even like the traditional screen where like like you take a snap, you kind of let the rush in, and then you dump the ball over the rush to like Dalvin Cook or whoever, or even a receiver. It's not. Kubiak has this fucking hard on for these goddamn quick screen outs to Thielen or whoever. We never have the proper blocking. We never have any sort of setup where it could become a big play. I don't know of any of these fucking plays. We've got to run at least 30 of these this year. I don't think any of them have turned into any sort of big play. But they just keep fucking running them, and they just kept running them all game again. Why? Where is the down? It's mind-boggling. Like everyone was saying, you know, and they've said it on some of these other games too. But it's like, go downfield. And I'm not one of these people who thinks every offensive play needs to be a 30-yard pass. But you're getting good pass protection. I've had this problem with a couple of games this year, where you're getting good pass protection. We're finally getting it. We're finally, it got a little bad, in the second half at times. But for most of like at least the first half, we were getting good pass protection. But they're not designing plays, and you can really see it when you're at the stadium. There's no one downfield. You're not even sending someone downfield. There's no effort to do it. There's no effort to go downfield, to make plays. It's like that's how you control a game. Especially when your run game wasn't working, and the run game was terrible the whole fucking game. I don't know. I don't know what it was with the run blocking, but it was just terrible. And we've seen it before. And I'm not, again, sometimes if you're going to play things conservatively, it's not automatically bad. Like, I didn't really think like it's not aesthetically pleasing. It's not necessarily as fun to watch. But like even the Detroit game, I didn't have a huge problem with, for the most part, how they played that game. But when you're playing most of that game with like a multi-score lead, it's not, it's really not that big of a deal if you're kind of playing that way. But I never felt they were in any sort of control of this game tonight. Even at 7-0, maybe at 7-0 I did, but it's like this is the approach, and it's like if this, it's so fucking frustrating, man. I just, okay. My ice cream was melting. I had to finish that up. But ice cream cannot make me feel better after this shit. I swear to God. It's all bad. It's just all bad. you know, like I know they're not. I know they're not game planning, trying to lose a game. No one wants to lose a game. Jobs may be on the line. No one's, you know, Mike Zimmer is not trying to get fired. Clint Kubiak is not trying to get fired. But if you believe that that was a possibility, this is what it would look like. And it's nonsensical, and Zimmer seems to be fine with it. So it's like, yeah, Kubiak is to blame for the play calling, for these stupid play calling, the vanilla play calling, the not trying to attack a weak spot of a defense, even when you're equipped to do so. I mean, Jefferson had like a nothing game, But the only thing you could say good about the offense is they spread the ball around tonight. They had, you know, they had probably like 8 or 9 different guys caught a pass. Even that Luke Stalker caught a pass at one point. It's like, that's about the only good thing you can say. But, you know, Kubiak is to blame for the play calling. But if Zimmer is okay with this, and he seems to be, I mean, like, he'll say things after games that's like, I heard like a little bit after the game tonight, and it's like, well, we're struggling to put teams away. Well, there's a reason. You can't put a team away if you're not, actively trying to score points, throughout the game, and they're not. They're just not. Not with these play calls. They don't sustain drives. I don't even. I think they completed like one. They converted like 1 third down on offense tonight. It was a joke. It was an absolute joke. It was a joke. It got to a point where it was like, oh, it's third down. Well, they're not gonna convert this. And you knew it, and they never did. And it's nonsensical that a team with this much offensive talent, including an offensive line that seems to, at least for the most part, kind of be working. I mean, like I said, they had some issues in the second half for sure tonight, but they certainly had enough pass protection throughout the game that they could do stuff, that they could have, that there could be plays where Kirk could go downfield, and they're not doing it. And when you're watching the game at the stadium, you can see that there are no receivers even attempting to go down the field. They're not sending guys down the field. They're sending guys 5 and 10 yards down the field at most. And that's regardless of the situation. And it's really fucking hard to sustain drives. And it's really easy to get into 3 and outs, especially if you have like a penalty. They had a couple of pretty significant penalties tonight too that kind of screwed up a couple of drives. But it's like, and we've seen this at times throughout the season. There are periods where the offense can look great. There are periods where the offense looks absolutely ridiculously bad, and you don't understand it. And like, Mike Zimmer is not a stupid person. He's not dumb. He knows he knows football. So he obviously must be fine with what he is seeing. And if he is fine with this approach, then, even if Kubiak is the problem, Zimmer is allowing Kubiak to be the problem, and therefore Zimmer is a problem. And again, I'm not saying I'm jumping on the fire Zimmer bandwagon. I'm not. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen like tomorrow. I didn't think it was going to happen even if they ended up losing that Detroit game or something. But because again, I don't know what if you let's say you fire him. What is that going to do now? What is that going to do for the 2021 season? If you fire Mike Zimmer, are you going to suddenly rip off, fuck, how many games they got left? 10 games? Are they going to suddenly go 7-3 in the rest of the games to, you know, end up in a wild card? Because that's, now we're, what, 3 back in the lost column of the Packers. So, I mean, you have to think that the best they could possibly do is a wild card. And, hell, the fucking Saints won today. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. That was a delight to find out that Brady got pick sixed to seal that one. Fuck you, Brady. But you know, even if that kind of separates the Saints now, there's we're basically in a spot where the best they can do for the season is that 7 spot. Does that change if you fire Mike Zimmer right now? Like I don't really see how it does. But and I hate agreeing with the fire Zimmers at all, like, because I think these are just shitty fans for the most part. There was a get out of the stadium. I checked my phone. There's some fucking idiot on Reddit who replied to some found some post of mine or a comment of mine from like a week ago. And he's like, "Oh, you still supporting Zimmer now? Sport?" Call me sport. It's like it's almost like a separate issue, but the people that there's been heat on Zimmer even with wins, but um, what a fucking surprise that the Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome people, they're back. They couldn't wait to come roaring back. They are as happy as can be that the Vikings lost tonight. And they're blaming Kirk because why not? Kirk ain't calling the fucking plays, man. You get mad if he dumps a ball off. Well, guess what? There's no receivers anywhere that he can't just dump a ball off. Like you're not calling plays, designing plays to stretch the field, to stretch out a defense. Nothing. So if you're mad that he's dumping a ball off to maybe the one guy on every play that he possibly can dump a ball off to, blame the fucking coach. Blame the fucking coach who's calling these plays, designing these plays. Like this is how it is. And I'm not saying Kirk had a great game. He didn't. Nobody had a great game. I don't think anybody on the offense you can say had a great game, or even a good game. I mean, Thielen got a touchdown, but it was pretty wide open touchdown. I mean, he caught that big 4th and 1, which we thought maybe was going to be a spark that would get him going, but it really didn't. I mean, I think they got a field goal on that drive, but like no one can feel good about this. No one should feel good about this. It was nauseating. It's nauseating to watch. It's bad football. This was a terrible football game. I'm sure Cowboys fans are happy. Good Lord, there were some obnoxious, annoying Cowboy fans. I was like fucking surrounded by Cowboys fans tonight. It's like I'm sure they're happy they got a win with a backup quarterback. And I don't fucking give a shit that it was a backup quarterback. Then the anti-Zimmers can bring up that fucking narrative that every time we play a backup quarterback, they didn't lose tonight because of a backup quarterback. They lost tonight because of the fucking offense, the performance on offense. And yeah, they gave up the fucking, they gave it up at the end. But I mean, that comes back to the offense. Like, even with a backup quarterback, they've got a lot of playmakers. They've got a lot of really good players. They're not. What are they 6-1 coming in or something, or 5-1? Maybe they're 6-1 now. Like, they're not that way just because of Dak Prescott. They have a lot of good players, and they're gonna make some plays on you. Like, they get burned at the start of the third quarter. With that long touchdown and then that ridiculous fucking immaculate deflection part 2 that happened in the last drive. Like, you know, I mean, the only that, yeah, like I'm not even saying the defense was great, but it's like, you know, but I mean, you're gonna get hit on a couple plays when you're facing a team with that kind of playmaking talent. Even if it's a backup quarterback, it doesn't matter. But you know, and I'm not saying the defense played great. I mean, they gave up quite a few third downs. They weren't really good on the run defense. Um, that and that embarrassing play on the last drive right before the touchdown where it was like 3rd and 11, they throw a short pass and there's like 4 Vikings standing between the guy who caught it and the first down, and they let him get it. You stop them there, they're only kicking a field goal. Maybe you still win the game. Maybe you still have a chance. You might end up in overtime, but you also maybe have a chance to maybe drive and kick a field goal or something and escape. That's what they've been doing this year. Sometimes they escape these games, but you don't even get that chance because the second they convert that 3rd and 11, the game is over. There's absolutely no chance you're gonna stop them in that spot, and they didn't. And it worked out completely horribly because you didn't even have much time left. If you let them score earlier, there would have been more time. They and another thing that Zimmer deserves ripping for is calling the back-to-back timeouts. He said he forgot that he called it. Like, he just called it. Like, I'm sorry, that's really not an acceptable. She was like, "Oh, I forgot I called. It just happened. It didn't happen an hour ago. It just happened like 30 seconds ago. That's not okay." And that turned a 3rd and 16 into a 3rd and 11. Now maybe they pick it up anyway because it's just the way it works. But I don't know. It was just really really fucking pathetic to give that up. But I'm not. I have a hard time in some of these games really ripping the defense. And yeah, they fucked up at the end of games. They gave up a 96-yard drive to Carolina to tie the game. It was a real short field, but they gave up the touchdown and the 2 against Detroit. You know, but I mean, they got turnovers. They got a couple turnovers. They got some sacks. And I know they were playing a backup quarterback, but they still did it, and it should have been enough. But it was never enough because the offense just refused to do anything with it, and the play calling just made it impossible to do anything with it. And this was a really important game, and it feels like it was just completely given away, almost deliberately. And I know that it wasn't purposeful, but it felt like that. It really did. Like, like, and I just like, I think they're technically now not even in that 7th spot. I think Carolina probably be up in that 7th spot because I think they're 4-4. But I mean, it doesn't mean that the Viking season is over. It's not even like, oh, the season's over now because they lost this game. But shit happens in some of these games. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But I could have stomached this better if it had been like a shootout. I picked it to be a shootout. Of course, I thought Dak was going to play all week. But even with the backup in there, like I said, they have playmakers. If they just make a bunch of plays on you, and you maybe lose a shootout type of game because they just make a bunch of plays with really good players, wouldn't be happy. But I mean, I could kind of accept that. But this game was just given to you, and they just gave it away willingly. I mean, it feels like it. There's just no excuse for it. And the season is not over because with what's going on with the Packers having the fucking horseshoe up their ass, like, your best bet was probably a wild card anyway, and they're still, that last wild card spot, and it doesn't really mean anything probably, but you could get it, and I still think the Vikings could get it, even if they continue being inconsistent pains in the ass. But I don't know, I just feel resigned to just, not that I thought that like, oh my god, we're still Super Bowl contenders or some shit like that. No, nothing like that. But you know, it does feel like talent is being squandered, particularly on offense. And I think Zimmer's done a pretty good job with the defense. Obviously, Danielle Hunter went out, I think, in like second quarter night. I mean, I didn't even know what had happened, and then they showed on the scoreboard that he's out with a shoulder injury, and then I guess he's going to have an MRI now. So who knows if that's going to be turned into something. I mean, that sure is fucking going to help us. Obviously we didn't have Peterson, and we didn't have Pierce. I mean, this, but I think the defense is held in there fine. Like I'm not. It's hard to rip the defense. I really have a hard time ripping the defense, even with what happened at the end, even with the touchdown at the start of the third quarter. I just have a hard time trashing the defense when they're out there, and even against a backup, they're giving the ball back to the offense. They're giving them a couple of real short fields. I think a couple of the couple turnovers they got, they gave them pretty short fields on those, and you just do nothing with it. And I feel like there are probably coaches out there who look at this offensive talent that we have and are just like, God, I would love to get my hands on this. And we're stuck with this approach that, whether it's Kubiak, whether it's Zimmer demanding this, but I just, nobody wants to not score points. Nobody wants, like, I'm sure Zimmer would love to win games comfortably, but this approach isn't working. But if he's fine with the approach as it is, then that's a problem. That's a Zimmer problem. And yes, it means Zimmer is a problem for this team right now. And he's an old coach. He's a veteran coach. Can he change? I don't know. But I think he's running out of time to change. And we're 7 games into this, and there are games, there are points in games where things seem to be turning, where this offense seems to be turning into what we want. I thought a lot of the Carolina game was kind of what we want, but then we go back, and it's just, and I hate agreeing with the Fire Zimmer crowd, but and I'm not saying I agree with them in the sense that I would fire Zimmer today, but I'm at the end of my rope after this game tonight in terms of defending Mike Zimmer. I just can't do it anymore. Doesn't mean I hate Mike Zimmer. It doesn't mean I don't respect what he's done. With the Vikings, I think he's been largely underappreciated. And I'm not even saying that, you get rid of him now, because I don't know what that does for you, unless you really believe, like, boy, because you're not going to go hire some outside coach now in the middle of the season. It would be some sort of promotion from within, and I don't know who that's going to be. I mean, if this was last year, it would have been obvious. You have Gary Kubiak, and so you promote him. So I don't know. You promote Andre Patterson to head coach. I don't think he would. I mean, he could. I guess he'd be the guy, but but it's after this one, I feel resigned. Like this unless this coaching staff and its approach changes, they can't go beyond what looks like the best they can do this year anyway, which is a seventh seed. Because, and maybe I'm just overrating the talent. Maybe everyone overrates the talent on this team. I don't think so. I think this team, everyone's dumping on Kirk again, but Kirk is a hell of a quarterback, and we got great receivers, and we've got productive tight ends, and one of the best running backs, and an offensive line that seems to be improved, and a decent defense. And then you see what you saw tonight, and it's inexplicable. And you see what you see in some of these other games at times. It's inexplicable. It fucking sucks. I mean, the season ain't over, but because the goal that this team can kind of aspire to at this point is a very unimpressive seventh seed playoff spot in the NFC, which right now is just to show how bad that playoff spot is. It's currently held, I believe, by the Carolina Panthers, and and maybe I shouldn't dump on the Panthers because we had to go to overtime to beat them, but I certainly still think the Vikings can get that seventh spot. But what does that mean at this point? And maybe they'll turn it around. Maybe they'll turn it around in an impressive way. Maybe but it'd be different. It'd be different if this was just a regular game. But they're coming out of a bye, 2 weeks to prepare for this shit, and that's what they put out there tonight. They were booed a lot, and they deserved it. They deserved every boo. I didn't boo because I don't do that, but they deserved it. They deserved to be booed because that was a disgraceful effort, particularly from the coaching staff. I think the coaches just really let down the players, and players make mistakes too, but they're absolutely not. There's a lot of talent on this team, and they're absolutely not being put in the best spot to win games and control games. I mean, it's 10-3 at halftime tonight. It should have been 17-3 at least. And they should have put up more in the second half than 2 field goals. It's not okay. Even that last drive, fine, you're getting some calls that are helping you get down the field. So okay, take the fucking gift, put it in the end zone, and maybe they go down and score on you anyway and tie it up and go to overtime. But at least then you're playing from a position of, hey, they've got to really go after us. I mean, they were in fucking field goal range in 3 plays. It's just, and then the defense is not exempt from blame, but I think it's just more, it's more of an offensive thing tonight. But if Zimmer is okay with this, then Zimmer is a problem, and I like Zimmer. I've liked a lot of this era of Vikings football, and I'm not one of these fucking fans who calls for everyone to be fired all the time and just roots for losses. All these people, these bad fans. It's like, I don't want this. I don't want this to be what's going on. It's. But this was a gross display of football tonight, and it didn't have to be that way. And they should be 4-3, but they just gave the game away, giving away Halloween candy. They just gave away a big, a bowl of Halloween candy, except the Halloween candy in the bowl was a win. they can still make the playoffs. I mean, they certainly have the talent. I still think they have more talent than any of these other teams who will be fighting for that 7 spot. If you want to just like assume that like those other teams are in, you know, like I think they're better than. I mean, they beat the Panthers in their home, so I gotta say they're better than the Panthers. I think they're better than Atlanta. I think they're better than Philadelphia. I think they're better than the Bears. I think they're better than the 49ers. And they'll be playing some of these teams so they can beat them. But so yeah, I think they can get in the playoffs. You know, I think they're going to have to do more than that though, because like I ain't in Ziggy Wolf's head, but he was there. I know he was there at the game. I saw it. Um, he can hear the boos, and sometimes there's booing, and it's like, come on, it's tacky. I thought it was deserved tonight. He hears the boos, and then he knows it was a nationally televised game, and they're not in a the Vikings are not in a position where like some of these teams where they're having half empty stadiums and shit like that. Like crowd was there, they were ready to roll tonight, and the Vikings gave us nothing beyond after that first drive and a couple of nice defensive plays. We had nothing. We were given nothing to do but boo, and in my case, just sit there and be really fucking irritated and mad. And but the NFL's wacky. This team is inexplicable at times. They might go to Baltimore and win. I mean, I didn't think they were going to like win all these games out of the bye or anything, but I thought they would win tonight, and they had a great opportunity that they just blew it. They just completely blew a really good opportunity to get a win, and no one would have given them any credit anyway, because it would have been, hey, you beat backup quarterback. Who gives a shit? Well, you didn't even beat the backup quarterback, and he didn't even play that good. It wasn't like the guy from the Jets today who threw for like 300 or like 400 yards. It wasn't even something like that. Cooper Rush didn't play good. He was lousy. But you still let him get a game-winning touchdown drive on you in your building, which never should have been possible because you should have had more than 16 points on the board. So, I don't know, man. Fucking bullshit. Post-mortem of this one will be long, but I've so much for me taking less time to talk. I'm pissed, man. This was really just nauseating. And then there you go. They show on the NFL Network we're the top in the hunt team, so we got that going for us, which is nice. So I mean, like we can grab that 7th spot. There's not a doubt in my mind this team can get to that 7th spot, but I don't know. What does it mean? What does it mean when we see shit like we see tonight? Yeah. I mean, it was about this point in the year last year that they went on a run, but I don't know. Like, I'm not writing off the season. But it just feels like when these same problems keep popping up, and not even like popping up just occasionally, but like it was the whole fucking game. That's a problem to me, and that I personally still think it's a Kubiak thing, but Zimmer's allowing it to be a Kubiak thing because Zimmer's not, if Zimmer tells Kubiak to stop doing some of the things that he does, he will stop doing them because he's obligated to, because he works for Zimmer. So we must conclude that if these things don't change, and they haven't changed yet, for the most part, little bits here and there in certain games, nothing tonight, then Zimmer's okay with it, and that's a problem. And we're going to go through this more in the final 10 games of the season, and we're going to have games that maybe shouldn't be as close as they are, and they are, and we're going to lose some of them because you're not going to win every close game. No one wins every close game. So, but hey, congrats to the anti-Zimmers. They're happy. Congrats to the Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome people. Deliriously happy that Kirk. Now they can say that Kirk lost a primetime game, or that he lost to a winning team. It's got nothing to do with Kirk, but it doesn't matter to these people. Kirk Cousins and the whole rest of this offense was absolutely fucking sabotaged tonight by their own coaches. And you're never going to convince me differently. So that's it. We're 3-4. Baltimore next week on the road. That ain't going to be easy by any means. But hey, who the fuck knows, man? At this point, Again, I still think they're probably going to get that 7 seed, but I don't know what that means anymore. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. But this was not a fun Halloween night. It's probably after midnight by the time I do finish this now, so it's probably November already. Oh God. I want to end on something positive. Good game. Some positive game. Joseph made his field goals. I was a little worried about that because there were a lot of field kicks being missed earlier in the day in games. Xavier Woods, against his former team, had a couple good plays, got a pick. Sack Daddy got a big sack at one point. Kendricks had a real nice sack at one point. Hutchinson got his Hall of Fame ring at halftime. That was cool to see. That's about it. Some funny costumes there. I got nothing. Terrible fucking game. Really, really depressing. But season ain't over yet.